Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Our first topic is about learning literacy, between reading in different ways and writing in different ways. The article engages with ideas of anchoring and meaning, grounding learning through practice, if one will, of constant integration. I think the method may prove valuable. The method of anchoring, as the article is showing. Now, I feel as though attention needs to be set on what meaning translates to for an individual. Meaning may differ between different individuals. So learning may differentiate. The method may prove valuable for a few individuals, whereas another method may prove valuable for a few individuals. The core of learning is extremely flexible, relying on the learners. I feel the article brings about very important topics to acknowledge regarding how the mind operates, especially in connection with technology, which brings me to address an area of which the article may benefit from acknowledging, especially considering the author of the article is of practice, of experience, professionally teaching between multiple languages, particularly English and Mandarin. So when assessing writing form and technology, I think of calligraphy because of the meaning that may derive from practice, though how individuals practicing may experience the meaning, the defining differently. How what calligraphy might bring about to translate, for individuals to comprehend, to further translate, may be comparable to regard to how individuals may be learning in modernity, more so with attention to technological parameters. I find individuals may apply meaning in myriad ways and may gravitate toward comprehension through depth of meaning. How deep one learns may affect how one will implement what one learns. How much does one care about what one is learning may further bring about different dynamics of learning. So the article mentions what may be beneficial, as well as what needs attention with regard to learning. All of which does not fall on responsibilities of an individual teaching, though connects with different realms that operate interdependently. Of these different realms, individuals are embracing different ways of learning, as well as engaging with different ways of learning that may not be of choice embracing. So learning operates of many spectrums of which need consideration. Even so, there are methods that may prove beneficial regarding context circumstantially. Our next topic, vacation during school. The article brings about different perspectives, of which I find may be important to assess with how one may be working with details at hand. I think vacation during school time is going to vary depending on what stage an individual is with education, more so than any other area of the conversation will I come to the reality of what does stage mean for an individual, which is engaging with how individuals learn differently. If an individual is at a stage with education where all the elements of that stage do not equate to an individual doing well, then vacation needs to be of a different approach of the family dynamic. What I find extremely important is what families are encouraging for youth to have to comprehend, which may come at a latter time in the youth's life, to consider, how am I approaching education? When an individual may come to encounter higher education, college, university, even in situations of high school, even in situations of middle school, realistically in many different levels of schooling, individuals may come to a reality of which reflects having to be responsible for all of what is happening in school if one is going to step away from school. The educational environment may have policies which operate independently from what teachers have in place for a classroom. So a teacher, a professor might have in policy that no excuse is to be set for an individual that will not be present, proper communication needs to happen. What happens is, if an individual is in a situation of which to be responsible, if the individual is responsible and communicates well, then awesome. If the individual is not going to be responsible with the education to have a vacation, then the problem is present. The long-term effects may not seem present with what may be happening grade-wise, behavior-wise, how might individuals respond? What boundaries of communication are happening with regard to education and vacation away from the educational environment? The idea connects with if individuals skip school, if individuals don't go to class. These happen at different stages of education. These happen with different stages of an individual's learning experience. If an individual doesn't feel a need or responsibility to do what is happening within the learning environment for a reason that is not justifiable, then an individual may find challenges. The article mentions one area of student athletes. Student athletes are a wonderful example because student athletes are on multiple schedules. Similar to any individual that has an extracurricular activity that might pull them away from the educational environment, being responsible, being able to communicate these parameters with professors, with teachers, is extremely important, especially considering some professors, some teachers do not care about the extracurricular activity beyond the educational classroom. They are focusing on the educational dynamics because these individuals have no extending responsibility beyond the classroom. Even the individuals that may seem to be very supportive of extracurricular activities and sports, if responsibly attending the students, make clear of the boundaries of the extracurricular activity as well as the classroom. So the reality is, vacation is not an exception. Vacation pulls an individual completely away from all aspects of an educational environment. So responsibility is a learning parameter that needs proper attention, especially considering long-term learning, long-term growth, and how an individual might grow to address the dynamics of being present for what one needs to be responsible for, especially when what one needs to be responsible for pertains to one's life more so than any other person's life, which is a part of the learning dynamics of which an individual might be going through, if not, needs to be going through. Because anything can happen that may affect an individual's life. So, what are the core areas of attention that an individual is learning through. All right, time for some origami. I have here a square origami. I'm going to fold in half, edge to edge. Then bring every single point to the middle. So I'm bringing every point to the middle after the fold. Doesn't have to be perfect, so as good as possible. Not all origami paper comes out to perfect dimensions, which is one reason why I mentioned folding doesn't have to be perfect. All right, the next step here is we're gonna just do a fold that works like this. It's a crinkle fold. The idea of doing this is basically to prepare the next folds. So we can have an almost even, if not exact, three-way folding. So again, it's just taking one edge and the opposite edge and just folding them in lightly, just to find a somewhat perfect third. Okay. One other way to do this is just to mash them up evenly. So we're gonna have the edges here. Okay. Voila. You can see now we'll have some folds here. Don't have to fold all of them. We just need to get now our thirds in folding. So now we'll fold inside. You can fold to meet one of the folding areas you just make, and we'll just fold the other one over it. We're forming the fold here. And we're gonna open it up. So we have our fold like a little pamphlet. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it three ways the other way. Now you can do the same thing as before. Just give this squeeze just in a different direction on both edges opposing. Just press the top part down and set up the next panels. All right, so now we're here. So the next portion of this is we're going to open up two corners. All right. From here, we're going to fold in. They're going to meet. We're going to fold at the flap here. Just going to fold in and bring these points to meet. They will overlap your show it to you here. See? The fold in overlaps, and I'm just going to press this down inside. Alright. Next, the same thing on this side. Just see it from this angle. See, I'm just bringing these in. They fold in really nicely. If you want an area to assess, the line that is here, closer to the box, is where you'll bring the cross to happen. So you'll see these folding in here, and voila. Next, you can just fold down this portion here at the top, so a triangle portion. It's going to be a part of the lid. The other thing is you can just fold down at the edge, and voila, we have here a hinge box. So you can put something in it and close the top. You can close it over, or you can close it inside. Pretty cute, I think. And if you'd like, you can just literally close in the flap completely, and then you'll just get to the box. And whatever you put inside can weigh it down. Alright. I champion reading physical books. When an individual reads a physical book, the brain physically changes, so one may receive long-term health benefits just from reading a physical book. The 50th law. The text assesses Curtis Jackson 50 Cent's upbringing, experiences against the backdrop of other individuals in history with philosophical tendings, addressing behaviorally these experiences, operating so as to engage with how to navigate life, how to embrace life personally beyond fear, how fear may only be of what one chooses fear to be, and how one's life may be beyond fear. The text is engaging with being self-aware, being proactive, being ready and willing to engage with one's life, what one may create with one's life, considering the dynamics that may seem apparent with the dynamics that may not seem apparent. So one may engage with the reality of what life may be if one proceeds with how one seeks for one's life in the better ways possible. The text is not limiting. The text is engaging with freeing and how individuals may attain personal freedom, the freedom of which one's life is to engage with, because one's choice life may bring one to one's choice freedom. Of course, to fully attain one's choice life, one must make choice decisions with respect to one's life personally. So I find the text really wonderful to engage with, and insightful with how one may address life amidst all of the possibilities of change, of factors that may not even have to do with one's life, as well as factors of change that one has control of in one's life, and how one may respond and have so much control of one's life's growth through how one responds, especially without fear, beyond fear. Thank you for joining I Don't Know. We Can Talk About It. Onward and Upward, Kevin.